All right, so blog ideas, where to post, right? Your own website, Active Rain, and on down the line there. Okay, so let's move into your ideas. What to post, right? We're saying that you should blog every day. You should write about something every day, every couple days, right? You could write, local, sporting events for youth. The town of Bellingham has a great youth football program. The Mini Mites are 5-0. They are good every year. The hockey team is doing well. The high school baseball team is in the championship. Whatever the case is. Now, obviously, when you write those, it might not necessarily be real estate related, but it tags you as a community expert. You're in the community. You know what's happening. You're in touch. You're involved. You're not a fly-by-night somebody who's coming from Seattle working in Bellingham, right? You really know what's happening. Local sporting events. Michael does this pretty well too. Is local just places like diners or restaurants or zoos or malls or events or parks or anything like that. Right, local event and then events. All right. Obviously, one of the most obvious is local housing news. Right, and what I like to call the local housing news is home value info. Go into your MLS. 15 single-family homes sold in Bellingham in October 2010. That's up from 18 a year ago. Right? The average list price is this. The average sale price is this. The average days on market is that. Right? So you want the home value reports, numbers of solds. Numbers of solds versus number of listeds versus, list price versus sale price versus days on market 2009 to 2010. All right? So that's something that you can blog about, and if you cover 5 or 6 towns, right, you can do that for condos. I don't know if every town has multifamilies, but multifamilies, single families, right? So you should get 3. You should be able to get 3, blog posts out of each town per month. So, Chris, just speaking to you directly here, if you live in, you're in Seattle, right, Chris? Bellingham?
No, I'm in Nooksack, which is in the county of outside of Bellingham.
Okay, all right. So if you're working 5 towns there, or the Nooksack County, if you're working a 7 or 8 town radius, if you had 8 times 3, that's 24. So if you did a home value report, one section for each town, you would have a blog post every day. And then you could take that blog post every day and you could filter it around. You could quote unquote breadcrumb it around to all these different sites, and you've got 24 days worth of content. And then next month the same thing, and next month the same thing. So if you mix that in with a local sporting event for Nooksat, a local diner that you like, or something the police force is doing, or something that would have some interest, like Gabe put in a text chat, what's nearby, how many students, average price of home in the school district, maybe how the school rates, some piece of information that's going to tie you in to a Nooksat County search. Whether it's Nooksat County home values, Nooksat County condos, single families, waterfront homes, lakefront homes, mountain ridge homes, acreage, whatever the case is. All right? So that you have, you've got local sporting events, local places, local housing, then you've got the home value information, right? So that there should give you 30 posts a month, right? If you did one local a week, if you did one sporting event a week, and then you did some home value reports for your towns, you would have a month's worth of content. All right? So let's go back to some other things. We talked about, industry news and opinions. Okay, here's the one thing Evan Russell's always got a controversial kind of line, and I'm going to go ahead and just state it. I would stay away from blogging about the processes of like short sales and foreclosures. All right? Because every process is different. Every bank treats it different. Every bank views it different, and how it works with one sale might not how it will work for another sale. There's a general rule of thumb of how the short sales work, but me personally, I wouldn't necessarily put that on a blog post that someone can file print and say, you told me it would go this way and it didn't, and now it didn't go right and it's your fault. So we want to make sure, I know that sounds maybe paranoid a little bit, but we want to stay away from exact processes and exact situations. Okay? So industry news and opinions. Now, this is how short sales work. This is what you need to do. You need to write a hardship letter. It needs to look. Stay away from that stuff. Just general blanket information that people can nibble on and contact you if they want more info. All right. The second piece of kind of Evan Russell this is don't write these books because people don't read them. If you've got a 3 or 4 or 5 paragraph blog, that's an essay. That's not a blog. Right? A blog from my world, being a very busy real estate professional as you all are, I'm going to read 2 paragraphs max, and I'm going to look for the meat. And if there's a link, maybe I'll link through it and see what the rest of it says and look for the meat. All right? I'm not going to read through 3 paragraphs of your opinion on a short sale. All right? But I might read your one opinion on the .co like we just talked about. And then someone's going to come in and might educate me and say, hey, Evan, good comment. I understand what you're saying. By the way, did you know that .co stands for Columbia, and that's why GoDaddy did it, and this, that, and the other. And that's how you share information, and that's social networking. That's how we educate ourselves through putting our ideas out there, letting somebody respond. Both those posts show up in a search somewhere, and then we both get found. That's the whole point of social networking, right? The whole point is for you to post something, me to respond, us both to get indexed. A buyer's going to find one of us and rock and roll. That's the whole point. So industry news and opinions. I would also stay away from rates, all right, because rates have a lot of variables to them. Oh, interest rates are 3.85. I heard that on the radio today. Well, it might have been yesterday's ad, so you don't necessarily want to put that up there. All right, FHA guidelines. They may change from lender to lender. So you want to stay away from that hardcore factual stuff that's going to kind of hold your feet to the fire of what you type. All right? There's enough information out there to not have to do that. So let's kind of keep going. So maybe some other ideas. Gabe, you got anything else that might be a good idea?
Yeah, and it's kind of all-encompassing, but anything that you're being asked by a client more than once presents a good topic for a blog post, and that you can really, for the title of the blog post, just pose that question that's being asked, and frequently asked questions blog post, basically. And in the content of it, spend a couple paragraphs, answer the question, provide a few different resources. Put yourself in the consumer's shoes. If you had that question, does your blog post solve that problem for them, or point them in the right direction to solve their problem, or give them a call to action to contact you for more details about their situation specifically?
Absolutely. Great point, man. Great. Anybody else got one we missed? Eddie, Kirk, Chris, Michael, Chris, anybody? No problem if you don't.
Also throw out there, after digging through the 2009 NAR profile of home buyers and sellers, everybody has to choose a neighborhood. So anyone that, especially relocating clients that don't know the area particularly, they're choosing an area, they're choosing a neighborhood specifically, and out of the statistics that the people pulled from people that actually bought property last year, the quality of the neighborhood is the majority of the reason that people choose that particular neighborhood. So writing on a topic that talks about that, convenient to job. So if you're writing about a particular neighborhood, what large employers are nearby? Are there schools in that particular neighborhood? Are there other businesses that might have some relocating clients might be Googling a neighborhood and their employer name that your neighborhood profile is gonna touch on in the search engines. The affordability of the homes, convenient, is there a lot of residential around that area? And then the 26% was quality of the school district. So just keeping those points in mind when we're talking about the specific neighborhoods that people are thinking about.
Yeah, that's great stuff. The one thing I want to kind of circle back on is one of the things that makes, and that's all great stuff, Gabe, and I'm just gonna give you the other side of it, is you want to also find stuff that's easy to find and that you can reference, right? You can't, you got to make sure that if you pull some data from NAR that you reference it. All right, I mean, it's just kind of common practice on writing. You want to give the source credit, all right, because you don't want to get in trouble for lifting information, that sort of thing. But, also, so if you can find a resource like that, that's great stuff. But you want to make sure that you're not just really kind of copy and pasting it. You're giving information like you would a school report. But you want to make sure you can find information that's easy to get to for you. Because if you have to work at the information, you might not spend a whole lot of time blogging about it. Right, so I'm going to go back to the CO example. I've been thinking about this for like 3 days, but if I'm going to sit down and write about it, I might only get like a paragraph out of it at max. Or I may be here in Boston and say, well, geez, I know there's there's Constant Contact in Boston, there's Bose, there's I don't even know, New Balance, and there's just a ton of good companies. There's a lot of schools and stuff like that, but I don't know if I have enough factual data to put my name on. The housing around Harvard is X and X, so I'd have to do some research on that. And the advantage of doing that research, and the reason Gabe kind of brings it up, is because that makes you the neighborhood expert. So it might be worth taking a little time and figuring out what the houses around Harvard or what the details are, right? Or where the professors who go to Harvard or MIT or Boston College or BU or whatever the case is, or University of Phoenix or Arizona State or whatever the case is, University of Washington, where do they live? Where do the professors live? They probably don't live in Harvard. They might live in Chestnut Hill or Cambridge or Brookline or something like that. So doing that homework is going to deliver that information right to the consumer who's looking for it, who's going to immediately label you as the expert. So that's a great point that Gabe kind of brings up, and that's just doing that due diligence. But it's got to be a market that you work. Like you can't, like going back to Chris, you can't put a blog up about Nookset, University of Washington, Nookset, Olympia, Nookset, the Space Needle. You kind of need to focus your blog around your town, around your area, so it's consistent. So if someone gets there, it makes some sense and it flows, kind of nicely. So, hey Brian, buddy, you back? Morning, man.
I am. Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. Hey, we're just kind of going through some blog ideas here, kind of where to post, kind of little ideas on what to post, and then just kind of going to go through some of the very basic rules on it. We were just speaking to one of the guys in here, and he says, hey, it's great to be a part of the team, but I'm thinking about some content on what to put on my new site. So we're just kind of rolling through that. So I don't know if we're missing anything here you want to add on, or if we're missing maybe an idea of what of how to find a blog topic. But feel free to jump in if you want, bud.
You may have already covered this, and I think one of the most effective things you can do is to, systematically, kind of like what you were just saying, pick apart some of the top neighborhoods, blog on the top neighborhood, but then also run a quick search. Email yourself some listings, and then grab that hyperlink and put it into the blog post. And so that way, say, here's a quick snapshot of maybe a recent CMA, or maybe it's a combination of actives and recently solds, and then say, hey, here's a quick snapshot of what's on the market and what just sold. And then what it'll do is it takes them right to your right to your little breakdown of properties. I know in Arizona, when you send somebody listings, it puts your little picture in the corner. Ours is kind of interactive, so they can check out tax records. And really, it just kind of cuts to the chase. At the end of the day, we want them to buy a home. I think all the other stuff's very important. We got to talk about the neighborhoods. You got to kind of fill in. And I kind of, when I talk about blog coaching, I just say, and this will be my last little nugget, but you're kind of like the People magazine when you think of yourself as a blogger. You're kind of like People magazine. You're going to have some hard-hitting news, but you're going to have some fluff and filler stuff too. And you kind of got to have it all. You got to have the stacks and the hard facts and the hard numbers, but then you want to have the restaurant tour and the places to take the kids and so forth and so on. So you really want to be sort of the People magazine of real estate, if you will.
Yeah, very, very cool. That's a great thing. This and we can kind of defer to Kirk on this real quick. If you bring that link back in, you're going to get some SEO benefit out of it, right, Kirk?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, I know that there's a lot of that just reminded me real quick. You guys ever watch The Family Guy? It's appropriate for some, it's not appropriate for others, but isn't there a weatherman that says, yeah, Ollie, what's the weather going to be? It's raining! Oh, thanks, Ollie. Kurt, we just kind of did it. Say, hey, will we get some benefit out of that? Kurt's like, oh yeah, okay, thanks, Kurt. Just having a little
It'll
fun.
be damn good.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right, so Brian just brought up a good point too while he was jumping in there is the video tours. I mean, we haven't